Hey guys, Ryan here, and today on Running with the Pack, I just wanted to go through, since we didn't have the 2021 schedule yet, and I actually kind of expected we would have it by now, I figured I could go and throw together something that is essentially what I think is likely to be the 2019, or, no, sorry, 2021 schedule. Um, so these are a bunch of tracks that I think are likely to end up in these spots for 2021. I'm thinking, and a lot of these predictions, some of them are confirmed, like the Daytona Road Course for the Clash, the Daytona 500 starting off the season, and Nashville Fairground, or not Nashville Fairground, sorry, Nashville Speedway, appearing in the middle of uh, I think their original contract actually said June, so maybe it's supposed to be a little further down there on the list. But I put it, I put it where I did. But let's get right into this list. So I kind of mentioned it: Daytona Road Course, Daytona 500. I think maybe it more likely for 30 laps than 40 laps on the Daytona Road Course. I made this list before this most recent weekend's race, and I didn't actually know the length of the race until the weekend of. So yeah, we've got that might be a little different. Then of course you got your Daytona 500 that I'm sure we already know will be happening Valentine's Day of 2021. Then from there, I'm expecting the West Coast swing. I want to see Sonoma earlier. So this is where a little bit of my personal bias ends up coming in, and really I think makes me want to put it there. But I do have a little bit of facts to kind of back that one up as well. Now, of course, you've got the fact that I remember seeing this photo. I don't know if it's been constantly put out there by Sonoma, but of seeing the lush green grass at Sonoma constantly, like during the winter months. So if we could get that, first off, I'd love to see it when it isn't just dead. But also, I think Sonoma would personally like it because, I mean, Northern California in the middle of June. Yeah, don't think they're particularly interested in keeping that level of heat around. So, probably would be something Sonoma I'm sure would be happy with, especially to compensate for them not getting a race this year, having their race taken away from them this year. Then you've got Auto Club Phoenix, Las Vegas. That's kind of your traditional West Coast swing. I reorganized the order because they reorganized them from last year to this year and figured it was a minor change that they could make. Then you got, I believe this is pretty similar to the 2019 schedule after you get past Atlanta. Atlanta's kind of based off the 2020 schedule for its new location. Then you got Martinsville, Texas, Bristol, Richmond, then Talladega. That's very similar to the 2019 schedule, which personally I quite liked it. The only difference really is that, well, actually that's a Martinsville day race, so yeah, I didn't exactly remember, so maybe that would end up being a Martinsville night race. Some of the stuff, as I said, was from other days, and actually some of the stuff is actually archived, and I just didn't bother changing it from like 2-3 years ago when I was making a video predicting my in theory perfect NASCAR schedule. But yeah, so Martinsville would probably make that a night race nowadays to combat the day races at Texas, Bristol. But then you go to Talladega. We got Kansas. I have Nashville there. Maybe you swap Nashville and Homestead, but then that ends up with 3 mile-and-a-halfs in a row, and I really was trying to avoid ending up doing that at any point. So maybe you move that, maybe you don't. I think if you do swap those two, that's probably where you swap it. Then you go with, then you go to the Charlotte All-Star race. I can't imagine that's not going to be pretty much the same. Though we did see the All-Stars move. I think that was more situational with the fact that it was easier to go to Bristol, I guess, maybe than Charlotte, or at the very least, it was an easy time to experiment. So, yeah, we end up with a pretty good Bristol All-Star race, but I think it'll probably end up sticking with Charlotte 600 as well. Memorial Day weekend, I'm almost certain that'll stick there considering even throughout all this pandemic, the Charlotte 600 remained unchanged, even with standard qualifying. Then you've got Homestead. That was actually the very last edit I made, was trying to piece out where I want piece together where I wanted Homestead. I ended up deciding on there. Pocono doubleheader. I think it deserves a chance for the attendance, because that was that was one of the big things that they took a gamble on for this year, and then they really didn't get a chance to see what the fan attendance would be like. I know I was going, and I would probably be very willing. I'd actually be pretty willing to go and visit it again. Go there for it next year if they end up having it. I think the Indy doubleheader with IndyCar and NASCAR for the Brickyard 400 works. Then down there, you guys might notice. Let me scroll a little better. You'll notice I've got Gateway Motorsports Park. So I'm just gonna kind of let you guys see a few of the other things that we got coming up. But yeah, so Gateway, I think it's deserved a date on the calendar, and I think kind of doing a Midwest almost swing with Indianapolis, Gateway, Chicago, and Iowa. Just try and add a few new races there. Gateway, Iowa, appealing to the more short tracks, and also going off the fact that they've said that they're working on changes, and I think both Gateway, with the amount of attention the IndyCar series has gotten there, I think they've deserved a cup race for a couple years here. Iowa, again, just looking at the IndyCar races and even some of the NASCAR races there for the Xfinity Series, they've been pretty amazing, so I'd love to see the cup cars at both those tracks. And then having Chicagoland in the middle there. I threw in distances that I thought would be a roundabout right, a little on the shorter side, trying to help shorten some of the events. Then you've got Watkins Glen right around the same time it would have been this year, which would have been this past weekend. Then I decided to stick with the idea for the Michigan doubleheader, because once again, kind of your less exciting races, getting them overall in one weekend. If we do keep a second Michigan race, to try and please Michigan International Speedway, and Roger Penske, I believe, still has some amount of ownership there, though I'm not really sure on that one. But either way, I think Michigan for the manufacturers would be a must to keep in there. Then I quite liked it for 2019-2018, ending the regular season with two semi crown jewel races. Now I know it's not the Daytona 500, but the Coke Zero 400. I think now we haven't seen it yet this year, but I think it's going to be a little too unpredictable to have as the very last chance for everybody to make it in the playoffs. I like having Darlington as the final regular season race because it is a little bit more of a tough track to actually have someone go from to go and gain 10, 15 spots at, unlike Daytona where you can gain 10, 15 spots on essentially sheer luck of being in the right lane. So that's the end of my estimated regular season. I'm estimating that they probably aren't going to change the length of the season very much. And then let's get into our playoffs here. So gonna start by scrolling it down, and we've got so you've got Richmond, Vegas, Bristol. I'm thinking that mixing Vegas in there with Bristol and Richmond. Three races that I think will probably perform pretty well. Again, we haven't seen how Richmond's been around this place in the playoffs for a while, so I think it'll do pretty well. We haven't seen how a Bristol playoff race will go, but easy to say that Bristol doesn't disappoint almost ever. And Las Vegas, the last couple of years in the playoffs, has done really well, so I figured mix it in with this round because I actually had some ideas for the round of 12 to change that one up just a slight amount. So you had Talladega for the first race of the round. Figure because kind of the tendency has been to move it sooner and sooner, and actually, to be honest, I think that makes it more and more important to do really well there. Because you have to assume you're going to have a bad race at both the Charlotte Roval, and Dover. Dover being a track that is structurally somewhat like Bristol there, with the concrete mile, high banks on in the corners for sure, and even some considerable banking on the straightaways. And then of course Charlotte Roval is a chaotic race all the time. So I would say that is a round of 12 to try and essentially give us a wild card round where if you have a bad race at the Charlotte Roval or Talladega, you can recover it at Dover, rather than having one wreck at the Roval be what costs you your shot at the playoffs. Same thing with Talladega. You want to have one wreck at Talladega that costs you any shot at the playoffs. And to be honest, I quite like that idea, especially if they're gonna. I mean, we'll have to wait and see how it works this year with having Talladega and the Roval in the same round, but I think it has a very good shot at doing pretty well. Then our round of 8 is actually pretty similar to this year as well, where we've got, actually it's the exact same as this year. Once again, this might end up becoming a Martinsville night race for the actual thing. Oh, I didn't scroll far enough for you guys to actually see it, but yeah, pretty much actually is the... I quite like the way the season actually wraps up here, so I'm just going to kind of put that there. Yeah, so Kansas, Texas, Martinsville. I actually knocked 100 miles off the Texas race intentionally because I feel like Texas, not only did I take their spring date away because I figured, they really haven't put on a great show that I feel like warrants a second race all the time. And also just kind of with the whole thing of shortening races. The Michigan doubleheader, I also shortened the length. I don't know if that's exactly as short as they were when they ran that earlier this year. And then Phoenix for the championship race as a night race, like a Saturday night event, I think would be pretty cool. Yeah, so Kansas, Martinsville, Kansas, Texas, Martinsville for the for that round. Really, I just like the way the playoffs finish up right now. At least, at the very least, it's a cool concept, and I'm gonna wait till I see it. If I see it and it's not as good as I'm expecting, very easily would be looking at rewriting that. And to be honest, I think that's a reason why I feel like NASCAR should stick with a fairly similar schedule to this year. Maybe with a few adaptations from what they did get to see at the beginning of the season, like maybe having a race before the, or maybe changing the order of your West Coast swing. Of course, the Daytona 500 drew in massive crowds, so no need to change that whatsoever. Yeah, so that was my 36 race playoff. I included the 2 exhibition races in there. I'd like to see them add an extra exhibition race at, say, somewhere like Eldora, essentially as an exhibition race, as more of a test to see if it would work with the NASCAR stock cars, to potentially add a date in the long-term future, but I don't think any Eldora or, and to be honest, not even really confident on saying a new road course coming to the series next year. I mean, maybe the Daytona road course ends up taking, say, one of the Michigan race dates, or maybe the Daytona road course takes one of the Pocono dates, but as of right now, this is my schedule, and yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. Yeah, as I said, maybe some of those lengths would be a little different, but in the end, I'm not the one making these decisions. I'm just here to talk about them, so feel free to let me know what you guys think of both my list and what you guys think for your own lists of what you guys are expecting for the 2021 season schedule. And of course, we'll talk about it when the 2021 schedule is fully unveiled. Currently, we only know Nashville Superspeedway, and I think they've said June, but I just decided to put it before the All-Star race. So maybe if you really need it in June, swap Nashville and Homestead there. For my schedule, I have the Pocono races. I think would end up being about a week earlier than they are currently, or almost a week earlier than they are currently, just with how it works out. or maybe you have an off week before the All-Star race to kind of give everybody a chance for some fun, and then add that in, because actually there would be an extra off week in June there. Okay, so yeah, that's where you would put Nashville, I guess. So thank you guys all for watching, though, this episode here of Running with the Pack. Other than that, I think that's pretty much everything. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed. If you guys did, remember to like the video, subscribe if you guys are new so you never miss an episode, and also make sure you guys check out the live streams that I do fairly frequently here on the channel. I've got one coming up later tonight where I'm actually going to be racing at Iowa in the Cup Series for the Cyber Cup Series. Going to be the first race of the playoffs over there. So hoping for a good night to try and earn some points to try and basically make some gains on the playoff grid. But other than that, that's pretty much everything. So I'll see you guys all in the next video, live stream, or whatever you decide to do for the rest of your day. Have a great day, everybody. Goodbye!